Saturday, August 12th. My name is Bill McCamley. I'm a state representative from Las Cruces and Mesilla here in New Mexico with your legislative update for the day. So I was up in Gallup yesterday in the very northwest part of the state for a meeting of the New Mexico Finance Authority Oversight Committee, and the two main things we did there were really look at some of the problems in Native communities. The infrastructure there a lot of times is very terrible. They were showing pictures of us of these school buses that were basically trying to get kids to school in these rivers of mud because roads haven't been paved. There's a lot of area up there with not a lot of money. The Four Corners region is one of the poorest places in the United States, and because money that we give them to help with infrastructure has to go through like 3 places of bureaucracy. So it starts at the state, it goes to the Navajo Nation in Window Rock, their capital, it goes to the individual chapter houses, and it's taken a lot of times years for this money to get put into place. We were exploring some ways to try to help move that faster, and we'll be looking at those here in the next few months, maybe going into the session, trying to find better ways to do that. We also looked at state financing programs. So one of the things we hear over and over again by businesses and economic development people around the state is that when a business wants to start or expand, then they can't really do it because they can't get the capital they need for their operations. And so the state's had 2 or 3 different things we've done. We've had a state-funded program that's worked on 6 businesses. We've had a federally funded program that's worked on 13, and those have almost all been successful. And we also have a new program that the federal government has called the New Market Tax Credits, which are being used right now to help broadband in the western part of the state through a co-op up there. And this should affect you for 2 reasons. Number one, if we can find better ways of financing businesses, more jobs get created, and that encourages obviously more economic growth and more of a tax base, and that's obviously the thing we need most is jobs. The second thing is that if this broadband project that's going on in Grants works, we want to find out how to replicate that in other areas around the state through their co-op so we can get better broadband access to people everywhere. Those 2 things are critical to job creation and therefore finding the funds to do some of the necessary programs that the state does. I also want to talk a little bit about the veto issue. So the governor during the legislative session vetoed 10 different bills in one day. I guess she got really angry about something and just vetoed all these bills, which were passed, if not unanimously, then almost unanimously. 2 of these bills are ones that I was involved in, the industrial hemp bill and the bill allowing for computer science to count as a math or science credit in high school. These vetoes were overturned because she did not put a reason down when she did the veto. She just said, I veto it. And the Constitution of the state is very clear, saying when you do a veto as a governor, you have to give a reason so that as we, a legislature, can know whether or not we want to override it. Well, she didn't do that, and so the Legislative Council, which is the Senate and the House, took her to court. The judge ruled yesterday that we were right, that her vetoes are invalid, so hopefully those things become law. In terms of hemp, what that means is that New Mexico State University, because of the way the rules are done in the federal farm bill, will hold the key to developing the rules for how hemp is research in the state. Now, some states are very strict in terms of very academic research, and other states like Kentucky say, well, go and grow your hemp and then tell us what happened, and then sell it and everything. So research can be very broadly or loosely defined, so that will now be up to New Mexico State University. The last thing I want to mention is it is Saturday, and all through the day, Nazis and KKK members in Charlottesville, Virginia have basically protested and instigated violence. Someone drove a car into some counter-protesters and killed them. Let me be very, very clear about how I stand for this in my community. Nazis want to kill people that don't look like them. The KKK has a history of violence and racial horror that we should absolutely and unilaterally not tolerate. And I saw the president's speech today where he basically said all sides are to blame. And while I have been very, very strong that the protesters of the president should not result to violence, we should always try to emulate Martin Luther King when we can. When these folks who want to see violent separation of people based on their skin color are allowed to proliferate and become normal, we need to oppose that strongly and really. And I will continue to do that as much as I can. If the president refuses to lead in this issue, it is up to state, local, and other national leaders to do so, and I plan on being involved in that. So I encourage everyone to embrace the values of respect and diversity that we have here in the country moving forward. I am deeply, deeply troubled by those Nazis and KKK members and by the president's extremely tepid response. So if he won't lead, others like myself will have to, and I will continue to do so. As always, thanks very much for watching this video. If you have questions, comments, or concerns on these or any other issues, I'd love to hear from you, and I hope you're having a great day. Bye.